This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Hordley Crossing in St. Thomas flooded. The National Works Agency says the Hordley Crossing Main Road in St. Thomas is flooded and impassable to small vehicles. The area has been flooded due to heavy rains affecting sections of the island. NWA Communication Manager Stephen Shaw says the larger vehicles can attempt to use the roadway. He says there is no report of flooding in other areas in the parish at this time.
The corridor as of now is impassable to small vehicles. Large units such as trucks and trailers can use it, but we're advising that operators of small vehicles do not attempt to use the corridor at this time. We are checking on other corridors in the parish to ascertain their suitability for travels. To date, we have not gotten any adverse reports outside of the Hordley Crossing main road.
Mobay's acting mayor wants a slaughterhouse talks with agri-groups. Montego Bay's deputy mayor Richard Vernon wants to meet with representatives of the Agriculture Ministry to discuss the plans for the development of a slaughterhouse in St. James. According to Vernon, there is an issue of food safety in the parish, which has been without an authorized abattoir for approximately 10 years. He also wants the Rural Agricultural Development Authority and the Jamaica Agricultural Society to be part of the talks. We are concerned about food safety, particularly how we process, dress, and prepare it for public consumption, Vernon said. He was speaking during Monday's staging of the Montpelier Agricultural Show in Montpelier, St. James. From as far back as 2012, butchers in St. James have been calling for an abattoir. They say the lack of the facility was impacting their ability to meet health guidelines. Over the years, there have been reports of illegal slaughterhouses across the parish. In 2013, it was reported that a lack of funding was preventing some of Western Jamaica's local authorities from establishing central abattoirs. In the meantime, Vernon called for the agriculture sector to be revolutionized and updated with modern technology in order to attract younger farmers. Man fatally stabbed in Monigue, suspect in custody. A man was fatally stabbed during a dispute with another in Riverhead District, Monigue, St. Anne on Easter Monday. Dead is 23-year-old Siobhan Harvey, alias Mug of Clapham District in Monigue. According to a release by the Corporate Communications Unit, Harvey was among a group of persons standing along the roadway in Riverhead District sometime after 10 p.m. when he was attacked by a man who used a knife to allegedly stab him in the chest. The police were summoned and Harvey was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The alleged attacker was apprehended by the police and remains in police custody. Investigations are ongoing. Consumers could get reprieve as the shipping costs drop, says Pandoe. After months of rising prices for imported goods, consumers could soon get a reprieve. Richard Pandoe, Chief Executive Officer for the Separate Group, says shipping costs have fallen to about half of last year's peak. He says where 40-foot containers were costing up to $20,000 to ship last year, the prices have now dropped to about $10,000 to $11,000 per container. While these prices are still higher than at the start of the pandemic, Mr. Pandoe says businesses are grateful.
First of all, the shipping cost impacting everything that's imported from Asia, right? So, I mean, what gone up to like $19,000, $20,000, the fact that it's dropped below half, that will have a positive impact on things that are imported from that side. It's not just food, it's furniture, it's materials, etc. So it's definitely reduced the pressure on pricing that we're seeing across different categories. Of course, there are other issues like supply itself, which is a problem. But overall, I mean, any good news at this stage should be welcome. The speed at which the pricing will happen will depend on the level of inventory people had. Because the same when the price is going up, companies are still pricing not at the rate it went up, but based on their replacement cost inventory. So I think that if it remains the same, and it's a big if, I think within a couple, within 2 months, we should start seeing a softening some pressure. Maybe even raw material prices or construction, you might even see it within a month and a half. So we're keeping our finger crossed that these kind of good news will keep coming through.
Mayor moots entertainment zones in Manchester. Mandeville's first citizen believes now is an opportune time for the proposed development of entertainment zones in Manchester. Mayor Donovan Mitchell's suggestion follows a recent restriction imposed by the police on entertainment events in 6 communities that are prone to violence. People have other ways of going around the situation, and this would give rise to the matter of entertainment zones as to where they will be, because this is now a ripe time for us to look at the zones of the parish, Mitchell said at the last Thursday's meeting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation. 4 of the communities, Comfort, Broadleaf, Hearties, and Newhall, are within the Royal Flat Division represented by the mayor. The other 2 communities are Midday and Greenvale. Head of the Manchester Police, Superintendent Lloyd Darby, told the Manchester Chamber of Commerce Town Hall meeting at the Manchester Golf Club on April 7 that the communities are plagued by violence, and as such the police will not be accepting applications for entertainment activities in those areas. But Mitchell said he has been getting calls from residents and promoters from his division for the hosting of entertainment events. I have not had a one-on-one with the superintendent in terms of what would have given rise to this, but one would have to understand that they would have had the statistics to determine whether or not such events will be allowed to be held, said Mitchell. The situation, though, is that I have gotten some calls from these areas, and I have asked them to just hold the strain and to just understand, he added. He said a plan is being devised to have greater social work in the communities. We are going to be having a meeting with the Social Development Commission because I think the situation that is giving us this problem is crime, and I think there is need to have more social intervention in these communities, he said. We need to have the Justices of the Peace, Northern Caribbean University, more of the police and the citizens sitting down to have discussion as to some of the things which are happening, he added. He said other communities which have not been blacklisted have in recent weeks seen murders at events. Georges Valley is not on it, but in one of those areas, one gentleman was fatally shot at a candlelight ceremony they were having for another person, and so we have to be cognizant of people's lives, he said. If you are looking in some areas that it is happening, innocent people get shot and even passers-by, and so the police would have been able to look at their statistics, he added. He said there is unease in the Broadleaf area, as some people are complaining that the entire community should not have been restricted, but this was done because of problems in nearby Brownstown. He said despite the restrictions, people have generally not adhered to the measures. The truth is that a number of people have been having events even during COVID time that had no permission, he said. Added the mayor, some people have asked if they can host day events instead of night events, because I think it is the problem of the night events that is creating the issue. We will be having a meeting with the police and the SDC and the chairman of these community development committees to look at a way forward. Meanwhile, Mitchell said over the last 2 years, during the restrictions under the now lifted Disaster Risk Management Act, the local municipalities' revenue fell dramatically. During the COVID period, revenue fell in those areas by about 90%. It will still impact, but we have to look at how we manage it, because as we said before, the lives of people would take precedence over money, he said. He dispelled the claims that communities are being stigmatized as violence-prone areas. He pointed to a study done by social anthropologist Dr. Herbert Gale, which highlighted poverty and domestic disputes in communities within Manchester that are prone to violence and have some serious social issues. Jamaica petitioned to refuse the deportation flights from UK. The families of Jamaicans facing deportation have signed an open letter to the Jamaican High Commission calling for the island to refuse the deportation flights from the UK ahead of another charter flight. It's suspected that the flight could resume next month. Campaigners are furious that UK Home Secretary Priti Patel is gearing up to rip apart more British families just weeks after the Home Office strongly refuted claims that deportations to Jamaica would resume shortly after Prince William and Kate Middleton finished their Caribbean tour. A campaigning charity supporting individuals and their families at risk of being deported, Movement for Justice, has labeled the Home Office's signing off of a mass deportations to Jamaica as racist and unjust, and is supporting the open letter signed by 51 people. The open letter is calling for the Jamaican government to refuse to accept any more mass deportation charter flights from the UK. The signatories also want the Jamaican government to reinstate and make permanent a previous agreement that people who migrated to the UK as children should not face being deported. Signatories on the letter are also demanding the opening of an immigration amnesty to support families affected by charter flights. Movement for Justice has organized a demonstration to take place outside the Jamaican High Commission in London on April 27, ahead of the suspected charter flight in May. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.